this afternoon, Wednesday, the 12th of November. Again, this week is going so quickly. I hope you're all doing extremely well. Just a little afternoon show. I thought I would sneak one in today. If this is your first time here, obviously I'm JB. This is the United Devil channel. If this is your first time getting into the chat, this is the best community on this platform. Everyone says that their community is the best, but this truly is the best community. We may not be the biggest, but we certainly are the best. We might be small, but we certainly are mighty. One thing I will say is get into this chat. Obviously, be respectful to the chat. Be respectful to me. Be respectful to yourselves. Otherwise, the ban hammer comes out and you get banned, which is something that we don't like to do. We seriously do not like to do it. It's not something that we want to do, but we will if we are forced into it. So be respectful to the mods, and we'll get on just well. Second of all, I'm not a dictator of this chat. Unlike some others, my opinion isn't the be all and the end all. My opinion is the same as yours, pretty much. We may not agree. We can agree to disagree on many subjects, but that's the beauty of an opinion. And I really do try to give you opinion. I give you a platform. Come on here to give you opinion, and I will talk your opinion. This is why these shows take so long, is because I literally give you your opinion and we talk about it, and we basically just go through the topics, and we go through the news. You give me your opinion, I'll tell you mine, and that is how we do it on this channel. So yeah, get in today with your opinions of what you've seen, what you've heard, and we'll get through all of that good stuff. So today, what did I want to go through today? So as I say, get into your things that you've heard. Casemiro, we've been talking about that for a couple of days. There's one or two little bits more on Casemiro. Lippy says hello. I hope you're doing extremely well. Baleba's back on, and again, this has been sort of confirmed. Bobby says hello, JB. Hello, Bobby. Hope you're doing extremely well, my friend. So Ornstein has sort of confirmed that as was asked the question, and he kind of went on to sort of allude that. Liam, legend, of course. Hope you're doing extremely well. Zirkzee, apparently to the Daily Mail. Johnny Hill said, how you doing? I was just on another channel stream and got timed out because the guy was saying that he got told main news unprofessional. So I said I would wait for a substantiated source. I love it. Look, that is the beauty, right? Is that I'll come on here, I'll tell you the news. Look, we've all got our opinions, right? And this is why what we do on here is we really do try. Look, I can come and tell you things that I've heard, things I've seen. We can put our own opinions on it, and that's the beauty of it. You're not gonna. The only way people get timed out on here is if you're rude. We don't have to agree. People come back at me all the time. Liam, who's a legend, Liam is not afraid to have a different opinion to me. Liam is not afraid to tell me when my opinion isn't quite up to his standard. So this is what we do on here. Teku says Messi or Cristiano. Look, in that Messi or Ronaldo debate, Diddy says, hi, sir. I hope you're doing extremely well. Messi or Cristiano? Really simple. I can answer it really simply. Messi is a gift. Talent, natural talent. Cristiano is the epitome of hard work. As simple as that for me. So how are we doing? We're all doing extremely well. So, hi, Alex Ferguson. Bocco or River. I hope you don't come across as rude. No. Liam. Mate, you never come across as rude at all, my friend. It's just an example how, the people that come on here, and I encourage you, like I actively encourage people to have a different opinion to me, Liam. 100%, my friend. You do not. Like Liam, your comments that you make, as many people are on here, are very, very intelligent. and you come across, and and I love that. So can continue that, my friend, because I really do feel like you do add some good stuff to the debates and chats that we have on here. Johnny Hill says, the guy also accused me of being a cow farmer with no football knowledge because I said Gallagher isn't United worthy. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, look, I mean, people are going to have their opinions, right? What channel, Johnny Hill? Yeah, name and shame, Johnny. Come on. I mean, I don't have to read it. Nobody sees this chat. That's the reason why I don't put this chat up, is because you guys can have your opinions. I'm not gonna name and shame people unless you want me to, of course. But yeah, give us all the good stuff. So yeah, I mean, look, getting your opinions ahead of what we're going to talk about. I want to know about your opinions on Casemiro. Let me know if you think that we should give him another contract. Do you think, like, how long should the contract be? Do you think he'll leave? Zirkzee. Do you think Zirkzee should leave? There's a piece in the in the Daily Star, I think it is, that I saw it. Not that that's worth anything. But Zirkzee, Everton, West Ham, do you think that would suit Zirkzee to stay in the Premier League to get some experience? What do you think that would mean? Do you think that United would be looking to put him in the shop window to sell him, or maybe looking to get him some game time so they can actually play him? So let's start off. Bobby says, no, I think Casemiro's time is up. Yes, he's been good for us, but he's losing his legs. Again, good opinion there, my friend. So let's go. David Ornstein. So where are we? So we're all itching for a midfielder. And I think, as we've already alluded to there in the chat, and we've spoken about this, we've been linked to all sorts of play. Now, I think that I don't want to say this because I don't want to upset Mr. Hill in here, but I think Conor Gallagher, I think, may be the one that we go for. Now, look, I can't say that I'm a massive fan. I think the Gallagher thing would remind me of a Zirkzee, would remind me of a club with a sort of lack of ambition to put bodies in there. I think I'm, as I did the video last night, I'm convinced that he's coming. I'm convinced that we will do the deal. I do think that we will do this deal. I think the reason why we do this deal is because I think it's cheap. I think it ticks a lot of boxes. Whether or not he's worth the value, who knows? But I think that this is probably one deal that we do, because I cannot see, and for Sky Sports said yesterday, and there's so many different things talking about how United are not going to sign anybody. I genuinely can't see that. Is it a possibility? Yes, but I do think that we'll do so. I think, for me, I think that it would remind me of a Zirkzee signing, remind me of an Amrabat signing. I don't think he'll do much, but I think that I'm pretty convinced that is one that is nailed on that we do. So I think there's that. Obi says, hi JB, I take so Gallagher, if he works hard, he works hard, and that's what we need. Hard work is not fancy names. Titan Boy says hello. Hello Titan Boy. Look, we need bodies in there. Whether or not long term he's good enough in terms of what we want to do, and as a fan base what we want to do. Ultimately, pushing for Champions League spaces, trying to, as people say, trying to win a league. Is he good enough for that? Right now, we just need players in there. So I think it's a deal that I think that we probably will look to do. I think it was pretty much there or thereabouts. We did try to do the deal, and I think that's one that's going to be done. So I think if you're not a fan of him, I think be prepared to be disappointed. And again, everything can turn week to week, but there's always no value in the market according to this club, and that's why I think that will be again. So Carlos B. So Brighton, Obi. Jones, I won't name and shame him because he has a massive ego, and I believe the more views he gets, the worse he gets. That's fair enough, mate. That is, look, again, fair enough, my friend. You know, many people when they do this sort of stuff, they do get a bit of an ego. Sadly, that is what happens. Obi says, would you say Gallagher is an upgrade on Casemiro after 60 and Ugarte? I think he's an upgrade on Ugarte. I think that here's what I think for what it's worth. I think Casemiro defensively would be better, but I think what he'd make up in for mobility and the ability to run around, I think overall he'd be better. I think if it's him, if it's Conor Gallagher or nothing at all, it's Conor Gallagher, because I just think we need bodies in there. Long term, do I think he's the sort of signing that I'd like to do? No. As a squad player, somebody that can come in like a Zirkzee really didn't do that much. But as a player, to get something in, then yes. Down the line, no. I'm certainly not tonight. Johnny Hill says, my issue with Gallagher is we are trying to get to a top 5, and I don't think any of top 5, 6 teams will. And Johnny, you're right, mate. I can't disagree with you. I can't. I just think that we have to. One of my problems with this club is the messaging that's mixed, right? Is that you've got Sir Jim saying that he thinks these players should finish top 4, right? Conceptually, as I've always said this, I don't disagree with this statement on the basis that we play one game a week. And if you're talking about the value of the players that we bought and the money that we pay these players, then 100% we should be getting top 4. But then we're trying to get top 4, and we have bought players, but we know we have massive gaps in this squad. And whilst I agree with you that I think that he's not a... Look, if you go get, in my opinion, if you go get an Anderson or a Steeler, then that automatically gives you an upgrade, and you could probably be pushing top 4, right? But right now, I think unless we get something or somebody like a Conor Gallagher to steady the ship, almost, we may not even get 6th or 7th or 8th. So I guess my thought right now is, do we twist? And as OB says, he would be a good squad player, not first team starter. And for that, we need that. Exactly. And as OB says, do we go for it because we know we need, is it a case of, look, let's just go and get players that we don't necessarily, because we're not going to go get an Anderson, we're not going to get these players. So is it not worth getting somebody who's Premier League proven, played in the Premier League, who knows the league, to get him to come in to at least steady the ship? So, imagine if we could get him and it steadies the ship and we get 6th. I know there's a significant amount of this fan base who have been swept up in others talk of, we can win this league. We can finish top 4. As much as I'd love to think that that's fantastic, my aim this season is to be more competitive. Is to, if we can get 6th, from 15th to 6th, right? It's almost like we would turn up our nose at a team that we're building, moving up the league, doing better and better, having a coach who's not going to get sacked, and then building again from there. So I almost feel like we're turning up our nose at players that, whilst they won't be significant improvements to the squad, they'll be better than what we got. So I absolutely respect the opinion, because is it an exciting one? No. Are there players that we want? Yes. But we all know what this club is. Sunderland are doing well, mate. Sunderland are doing fantastically well. I mean, who would have thought? I sort of asked you. I know Sunderland fans are very, very passionate about their club, but would you have ever envisioned or imagined that you would be doing that well this season? I think it's fantastic. Johnny says, also, I think the Gallagher thing is forced due to the whole this player or nothing. The club decides to present the fan base. It's the same reason we ended up with Regulon last season. And Johnny, mate, you keep making some good points here. It's almost this, instead of linking us to £100 million players, and then it's almost a bit like saying, do you want this Audi Q7? And you go, yeah. And then they keep saying to you, there's a really good chance that you're going to get a Porsche 911, you're going to get an Audi Q, whatever it is, you're going to get, like a high-end car, and then you turn up and then it's a Fiesta. Like, it's almost like that. Rex says, Liverpool, your uncle the GOAT. If it's a binary option, Gallagher or loan or nobody, then exactly that. And also, I don't think Let's Go would do a loan unless there's an obligation to buy. I've heard that as well. I've heard that because they're going to want their money, because they're going to want basically what they paid for him in that instance. If it's an option to buy, fine. But if it's an obligation to buy, then for me, not. Obi says, for me, Squahy, Anderson, Garner, Gallagher, Semenyo would be a huge improvement by the end of summer 26 if we was able to get them. Where would Semenyo play though? That's my only. As Dilla says, hello bro, how are you? I'm doing extremely well, my friend, and hope you are too. I wonder where Semenyo would play. That's my only. I like the player, no problem with him. But then where would he play? He'd surely have to play. Are we going to play him as a wing back? Is he a wing back type? I don't know. I would have thought he's probably more of a wide number 10. Interesting. I wouldn't say no. Rob James says big bid for Anthony Gordon from Newcastle, that Mateta from Palace. Interesting, Rob. Anthony Gordon. The problem for me with him is that, yes, good player, but he's gonna be expensive. So Jackie says hello, Sir Jackie, legend. See, I'm not opposed to him, but he's that sort of player whereby I think we should have got him before. I think if you try to go and get him now, he'd be the sort of player that I'd probably want to go get at the end of his contract, or there's a year left on his deal. Otherwise, he's going to be expensive. Mateta, yes. Yes. I think we are going to need another striker. Mateta for me would get a big tick. Obi says over January and the summer 2026, including Sancho, Rashford, Onana, Ugarte leaving, we can do that. We can also get Hayden Hackney into for cheap, bolster the squad depth. So then you can play wing back, cam, or centre forward. Yeah, I mean, Semenyo for me, expensive. I sort of, the Semenyo thing for me, what puts me off him, before we get into the Carlos B stuff, is that I like the idea of Semenyo, but the problem for me is I think he's going to be in and around the 70 million mark, right? I think we need 2 centre midfielders first before we get a Semenyo, and I think we could probably get a wing back for cheaper than what Semenyo would cost. So I like it. Look, in an ideal world, Semenyo, you'd go get him as well. You know, you'd go get 2 centre midfielders. I think I would probably navigate away from Semenyo, take that money and spread it around. Look, an ambitious club, OB, would go and do it. You know, Liverpool spent what, 400 million? No, just think for the price of Wirtz and Isaac. Was that the best part of 100 and 280 million? No, 260 million, 250 million. You'd go get Semenyo, go get Anderson, because Anderson's going to be nowhere near £80 million. You go get Stiller, you go get an ambitious club would. Rob James says Rooney rates Mateta. Mateta is a good old Premier League striker. I've got no problems with him at all. I think he'd be a great striker. I think Mateta is one of those good old fashioned consistent Premier League strikers. I think he's brilliant. I like Mateta, and Anthony Gordon is a winger. Where's all the Morecambe Whites were? That makes sense. We definitely need another striker. Explain your workings, mate. That would be explain your workings. So Carlos Baleba. Let's talk about this. So where are we in this? So David Ornstein, the legend, the GOAT of the transfers in this club, whether people like it or not. David Ornstein, gets things all of the time. Whether we like it or not, people do. He's not employed by the club, but he is a little bit of a mouthpiece. So he was asked, look, who would you sign? When reporters or whatever else or transfer people ask, like, who would you sign? Who cares, right? Because they're not necessarily. I don't think Ornstein's a fan of the club, and I don't really care about their opinion. But what I do care about is basically when he says that. So he wants to come to United. United want him. We will see what will happen in the future. And Brighton do not want to sell. So Baleba wants to come to the club, and I think my question would be, would you still sign him? Based on the first 10 games, I think the first 2-3 games he's coming back after being injured. I like Baleba. My opinion on him hasn't changed. I don't think he's anywhere near 100 million. My opinion on him hasn't changed. I like him. Players. I think we're too quick in this country. I think we're too quick to judge a player. It's 10 games. He's 21, 22 years old. He was injured at the start. He's come back. He's going to be better. Do I think he's anywhere near 100 million? No. Do I think we should be able to get that down? Yes, I do. Would I rather him over an Anderson? I'd like them together. I don't think it's a question of either or with those two players. I think it's a question of you get them both. I don't think it's a question of you get one or the other one. I think it's a question of, can you get both? I think I'd like believe it isn't going to be so for anything like 100 million. I really hope not. Obi says, I like Baleba, but the asking price is too much. We need more than one midfielder. Can't spend 100 million on one player when we lack quality and squad depth. Liam, Brighton are going to dig in their heels, I think. I just sort of hope that he has an off sort of season. I still think there's time there. I still think he's going to be a fantastic player. I will say this. I don't know how, and I spoke about this through the whole of the summer. I want Baleba. I do. My mind on him hasn't changed. I think he's going to be a defensive beast. 5359 says hi, hello, my friend. I think he's a defensive beast. Our midfield is so bad. Whoever we go for will be charged the United tax. That is a very, 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 very good, very good point. Says Liam, if you add up all the salaries such as Rashford, Sancho, Casemiro, Bruno, 2 of those are guaranteed to be sold, then add the transfer value, add what we have available. Hello, it's my first time and I'm an Arsenal fan, by the way. Look, Arsenal fans are welcome here too, my friend. This is a channel where we don't discriminate. You know, we have an amazing community here. We have an amazing people on here. We have amazing rival fans on here as well. Look, you know, we don't just talk about this club. We primarily do. You know, evening shows pretty much most things go, but we do talk about all different sorts of stuff. So if you want to get into the chat, my friend, get into the chat. Liam says, I don't think he's a bad player by any means, but he won't be sold for anything like near 100 million next season. Also, we pay 4 to 5 seasons a player that costs 75 million, so it's like 20 per season. So buying these players is doable. And this is where I was at during the summer when people were saying, or they were saying, look, you know, 100 million pounds is too much for this player. Now, I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I'm also not bothered because as what OB says that, and I've been saying this for the longest time, the reason why I don't mind paying 80, like 100 million pounds for young players, if you sign somebody who's 20 years old and you have that contract over 5 or 6 years, let's just imagine here they're here for 10 years, right? You know, that's what 10 million a season, you know, for a player that you've had for 10 years. And obviously you've got to factor in the wages, but you take that out, right? Let's just say you have him for 5 years. He's what, 27, then starts to sort of come into the peak of his powers, and you sell him for 40 million. Let's just say it hasn't gone well, and he's, you know, you've bought him for, and you sell him for 50 million. You know, 50 million back, he's cost you 10 million pounds a season. Now, I don't mind doing that. It's just I've got a counter argument to that could be if you pay that money for him and he absolutely turns out toilet, and then in 5 years' time you sell him for 10p, then of course, then yes, then that is a issue. But you know, like for example, somebody like Isaac, right? For me, that's a deal that I'd hate to do because, you know, you're paying all that money for really the resale value of that player is not going to be there. You know, so this is why I don't necessarily mind paying bigger price tags for younger players, is because the value is there, and for a potential, and I'm not talking about every single player here. You know, if you really truly believe, you know, Shesko for it, I don't mind paying that sort of money for Shesko, because even if in 5 years' time he'd be what, 27, 28 years old, if he's decent enough, you get 30 to 40 million for him, you know, and then you've only paid 35 to 40 million for him over 5-6 seasons. So, you know, it's younger players, I don't mind doing it, as long as we say, we scout them right. Steve is making a good point. They're saying whoever we get will pay a fortune, they will flop, then we should spend the next 4 years farming them out on loans and buys. And Steve, and that is a good point, my friend. You know, this is what we need to get away from, is, you know, again, to counteract my point, Liam said amortization only works if the player works out for your club. I would love to have an example of a good player getting who has been successful but being sold. Exactly, Liam. Exactly. You know, It's right, mate. I again, these are the sort of things where you have to take into account the amortization. You know, I can't remember a player. This is why we have to, as Steve says there, this is why we have to loan out these players. This is why we've got to loan out a Sancho. This is why Onana can't just be sold for 20 quid. This is why we're having to loan these players out, is because we get hit by amortization, we get hit by the length of the contract as well, because we'll take a book loss, because all that is factored into the loss of the players as well. And I think, Liam, you're right. I think that the best that we can do with the players that we have bought is basically breaking even. Obviously, Scott McTominay has been successful since getting sold. We should have never have sold him. Another example is Alvaro Fernandez. Yeah, Alvaro Fernandez. Whether or not Alvaro Fernandez would have fitted into this team, that's not really my main reason here. Well, it is, but one of my other reasons is because we've basically given away probably one of the best talents, young talents, away, and Madrid could easily make tens of millions on him. I think on that one, I think we failed on many parts. So who let this kid go? Whose head should roll for that? Let's have a little look. Sino Sevillana says United shouldn't have bought Šeško in the first place and used Zirkzee as a centre forward. We need to find a replacement for Casemiro. Joe Gomez of Wolves seems a decent player. I like Šeško. He's just a kid and needs help. Not his fault. We expect a 22-year-old to be in his prime, because United already have Mbeumo and Cunha, who are wingers. They are not playing that wide, so they need a CM who can provide chances to them and score. Occasionally, I watched Madrid. Alvaro Fernandez isn't great. Interesting one there. So look, guys, I think these are all good points. I think that I think for me, and we will come back to the midfield debate as well, is and just because it's made there. Jack says bring back Rude. I say bring back Mark Hughes, mate. Bring back Sparky. No. Ruud van Nistelrooy, again, that type of striker. Love that type of striker. I think for me, one of the best eras when we're talking about strikers, because we are talking about Šeško, right? And then when we're looking at the strikers in the league, you've got the likes of like Haaland. Haaland stands well above, right? I remember this season when it was basically Ruud van Nistelrooy against Henry. Two completely different sorts of strikers, two completely different sorts of players. Like Henry, at times unplayable. Henry absolutely just pick up that ball. You ain't stopping him. The feet, the flair, the finish, absolute great. I mean, Ruud could run with the ball as well, but Ruud was so different. It was so good. Was equally as good in just a different sort of way. And I think Šeško I think people expected Šeško to be like Haaland, and we're seeing a different sort of player, and people are just not going to give him time, because they expect, as OB says there, they're expecting a 22-year-old kid to basically be the next Haaland or be the next big striker. If United need a Casemiro replacement, just get Tchouaméni, who is a proven ball winner. That is fair, but what makes you think Zirkzee is better being in a pivot than Šeško? Zirkzee to me is a supporting cam with his holding ball, vertical runs into pockets and a link-up play. Zirkzee's a cam. Zirkzee's a cam. Zirkzee for me is not a striker. He can be used as a striker, but for me, I think, as you say, Zirkzee is he's a ball carrier. I think. I think the run, as you say, the runs into spaces, the 1-2s. I think he's very, very good for such a tall guy. I think he's very, very good in a tight space. I think his movement over those first yards are very, very good. His ball control is fantastic. I think he'd be a waste. I think utilising Zirkzee as a striker, I think is probably the wrong move. But I think the reason why Amorim would do it is because I think Zirkzee looks a bit like a striker in terms of, I think his physique, I think Amorim likes that. I think Amorim prefers a bigger, stronger striker. YouTube Premium says, how are you going to get too many to leave Real Madrid? We need proven place. We're not going to, are we? Whether we like him or not, he's just not gonna move, is he? Waiting for the next council tax summit this Premier League. Maybe it will be a better season. The same way Casemiro got, but the difference was with Casemiro is what Madrid didn't want Casemiro. That's the difference here, is that Madrid didn't want Casemiro, and after Casemiro, I don't want anything that Real Madrid don't want. I don't want Real Madrid's cast-offs. Much rather get Anderson from Forest, English proven talent, and looks like he's got a strong head on him. I think you are in the belief we are trying to play Spalletti football or Klopp with Firmino. We are not trying that. Šeško is in the team to run into the channels. Football is lacking quality strikers these days, because for years every team played a 2.99. We had 4 of the best in Europe. I mean, we've always been very, very, very fortunate, right? We had Sheringham, Solskjaer, York and Cole. And then at one point we had Berbatov, Tevez, Rooney and Cristiano. Solskjaer as well. We had some absolutely fantastic strikers at this club. And I think being a proper striker has become like a dying art. I think unless I think people more want like a Haaland. I mean, you think about back in the day, you had Claudio Pizarro, Luca Toni, Vieri, and I mean, these not even in like the Premier League. You had like Viduka, Shearer, Sutton, Hartson, obviously Henry. You just had so many. I think you had better strikers. I think you had proper strikers. Not forgetting R9 as well. Romario. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, you could go through that. Dina says, "How are you doing, JB? I'm doing extremely well, my friend. Same JB. I don't want Real Madrid's fodder either. The team has been doing really well recently. They fought back twice in the past 2 games. Just need to stop leaking goals. The top 5 is definitely achievable this year." Look, I champion people on this channel who are optimistic, right? Absolutely read out your comments, and I love the difference of opinion. I champion, the fact that you think we're playing well. I get that. I don't share that. I don't share it. I don't think we've played well at all most of the season. I know some of you do, and we have our difference of opinions. The biggest concern for me right now is depth. Biggest concern for me right now is why, when we have 1 game a week, and there are many reasons. I'm not blind to the reasons as to why we probably are not playing well. It's more of a rhetorical observation on the basis that, well, why aren't we? You know, we've got one game a week. I could counter that. I could counter myself and probably say, look, you know, I think maybe not playing 2 games a week means you're not fitter, because there's nothing that gets you fitter than doing the thing, right? So, you know, if you're playing 2 games a week, yes, you will need a rest, but you're naturally going to be fitter because you're doing more. Yes, you'll be injured, but then you could counter argue that and say, well, actually, surely you'd be able to train more intensively. You know, you'd be able to recover better. I just don't know. I can't figure out right now why we went from starting games really fast. You know, even if we didn't sort of play well, Fulham game, you know, we came up fast. Arsenal, that was probably our best game. Came up fast, maintained it. Fulham, we did quite well. The Brighton game, again, maintained it. You know, well, first half good, little bit crap, came back again. I don't get it. I don't get, and this is why midfield for me. This is why hearing the likes of Ornstein saying that for me is music to my ears, because I think we need players like that. JB was spoilt for talent in the 90s. I mean, it was a different. I mean, Ujo, Hernan Crespo, Weyer. I mean, just amazing. York and Cole with Teddy and Ollie off the bench, exactly. Need to sign players because they are good players. They will enhance the team. Need to stop the buying play because they played for Madrid once upon a time. I don't disagree. Beat Liverpool, Chelsea, and overperforming Sunderland team. Just beat some top teams. Now, and again, look, I admire that. Them's are the facts, right? I'm not gonna. What I'm struggling to do this season, and I want to be as positive as I possibly can, right? That's the one thing I said when I set this up on here, is that I'll give you guys your mouthpiece, give you guys your opportunity to give your opinions across, and if I do come back and give a different opinion, it's not because I'm saying that your opinion is wrong. I'm just offering up a different opinion, right? Now, Liverpool, we did beat them, but to say we played well, I think is a stretch. I think we did well. They non-stop attacked us. Second half, we were holding on to the seat of our pants. It's a derby. It's a different sort of game. We went there, we won. Big kudos to the whole team, and I thought we played well. I don't. It's the sort of game where if you look back and watch the game again, then you go, okay, we were fortunate, but we deserved to win, right? Chelsea, look, we won it, but we just about won it. They had a man sent off. We had a man sent off. It was even Stevens. So, the Chelsea win, look, it's a win. I literally don't care like how we win, but if we're talking about the performances, Sunderland game, fine. Like it was an okay game. Did I ever feel comfortable in the game? The Brighton game was the game I felt comfortable in. Like I thought that was our best game, and we conceded 2 goals. And then the Forest game, I mean, we were awful. Spurs, awful. So whilst I do agree that we're winning games and it's a very, very competitive league, I still think we need players. I'm still of the opinion that this team isn't is still not great. Alim Slim's talking to Sunil. What did I miss? I heard Rubén is getting sugar daddy money to splurge on transfers. He's not, mate. He really isn't. He really isn't. JB, who had the best team in the 90s? United, Madrid, AC, Inter, Juventus, Fiorentina, Monaco, Arsenal, Chelsea. In the 90s, well, you've got to say AC Milan were probably there. Madrid. I mean, United domestically were, I think were probably the best team. But it's so difficult. You've got Juventus with Nedved, with Conte, with that team that we beat in '99, that they had. Was it Seedorf or was it no? Was it Seedorf? Ajax as well. I think you forgot to put them in as well, because Ajax won the Champions League, didn't they, as well? And that team was an amazing team. Seedorf, Litmanen, I think, was in there. Who was in goal? Van der Sar was in. Again, Chelsea during the 90s. Were Chelsea good during the 90s? No. Yeah. Arsenal 90s. I think they were decent. Monaco decent. I think Fiorentina were probably decent. Parma. I think Parma were good as well. Juventus were. Madrid were. Barcelona were pretty good as well. United, for me, look, to me, they were always going to be the best team, right? But I think Milan would probably have a shout. I think AC Milan would probably have a shout. Madrid, I think, European-wise, I think those two would probably have it in terms of European football. The list goes on and on. It does. Oh, Gabriela Batistuta, absolute legend. I love that guy. I thought they were fantastic. AC Milan had an insane team. They really did. Our midfield won't get fixed unless Bruno gets sold. He can't play in the pivot, too indisciplined, erratic with his passes. That's why we can't control the midfield and dominate teams. You're not going to hear any objection from me on that. I've given my opinions on Fernandes quite a lot. I think it is time. I think we need to evolve as a team. I think we need to evolve as a club. I think every club has an era. We're in the Fernandes era, and eras have to end. And I think that there's nothing wrong in wanting to move on from a player. And I think we need to move on as a player. Says probably AC Milan had the talent they had. Very, very scary team. Their defense was insane. Have a little look. Fair, but I think Šeško can't provide that much service to the other guys. Bruno and Mbeumo, those guys like to score. Liam, exactly. We were so spoilt. What a time to be alive, and I missed the 90s. Yeah, the same here, my friend. We played very well against Arsenal, and we deserved to win, but got nothing from it. I'd rather take the win rather than worry about performances. I get that. At the end of the day, a win is a win, right? A win is a win. I'm not going to disagree. Where I will caveat that, though, is this. When those wins start to turn into draws, and those draws start to turn into a loss. And I'm going to give you an example here. Liverpool this season are the best example of this, right? They were winning games they probably shouldn't have won. The Newcastle game away, when Newcastle had 10 men, were all over Liverpool. And Liverpool, I'd seen them, had not been playing really well, but were scoring goals and, were scoring late goals. They weren't really playing well, but winning. And then those wins then suddenly turned to losses. And losses, and losses, and losses. And if the performances are not there, how do you then get out of the rut? So my fear right now is, yes, we've won, we've drawn, we're not playing well. So now if we don't turn that corner and we start to take a downturn and we start to lose, where's the performance to look back on and go, oh, actually, we can turn it around, it's just a blip. That's my worry about the performances. Look, I don't mind taking... Look, Fergie did it all of the time, right? I don't mind taking the odd loss and not playing well the whole time. But I just don't think I don't think we've played well the last couple of games. So my only problem, whilst I do agree with that, is that I would rather take a win. But the problem is if the performances aren't there and we start to lose, how do we then get that performance back if it's not been there? Liverpool. Liam says Juventus, Parma, our Steve Parma of the 90s. I mean, Buffon was at Parma, Crespo was at Parma, it's Nedved at Parma to begin with as well. What a team. Zidane, David, Nedved, Del Piero, Vieri. I know. I think Chelsea was actually the best in the early thousands. Yes, in the early thousands they were pretty good. DJ Dunn, oh no, just saw your headline where Beleba's we Beleba's again. Oh, Baleba, my friend. Look, where's it coming from? So David Ornstein basically come out and has confirmed it, basically saying that he wants us, we want him. Brighton don't want to sell him. It's a deal that's going to be. Look, he literally asked today, right? We are where we are. This is what we're going to get. I think we are. I like him. I've always liked him. I think he's a player that I would get. Obviously, if we got Steeler like Anderson, I'd put Anderson is number one on my list. If we got Anderson and him, I'd be happy. Steeler, look, we need to get somebody. Ibrahim says, wait till the AFCON. I have a feeling Zirkzee is going to shine. Manu123 says, what are your thoughts on Shesko so far? Same as Haaland. I think we're partly failing Shesko. I do. I think this pivot doesn't help him. Shesko is 22 years old. Asking to lead the line at this age, I think, is a ridiculous task for him. He's got nobody to. Help him. He's got nobody to be a guide, and I think we are failing him again. So, I think he's athletically fantastic. I think he's tall. I think he's got all of the attributes to do well. We are sitting on the manager's lap and getting a tummy rub here. We are overall, even in the late 80s, which was just before my time. We have always had good players. So what are the Glazers doing? They have totally disrespected our club and history. We've always had, and you know my feelings on the Glazers, that top right there. Scumbags. They are cockroaches of this club. They need to be purged. They need to go. They are the epitome of what owners shouldn't be. They've never put a penny of their own cash into this club. They have single-handedly destroyed our home, destroyed our culture. They're going to make us an Americana. They're going to basically build a stadium. They're going to turn us into even more of a brand than we are now. We're going to become a circus. I've seen people, and look, this is not me calling out your opinion. And if this is something that you like, then that's fine. I've seen people say, "Oh, I can't wait for the stadium. Oh, I can't wait to see it." Got no interest in the stadium. It means that they've let our home rot. So for me, the Glazers have destroyed this club. Even when we had the likes of, we don't even have in this club. We don't even have the likes of a Brian McClare. We don't even have the likes of a Phelan in this club. We don't have the likes of a Paul Parker. Don't even have, and the reason why we don't have the likes of a Lee Sharp, and the reason why I'm mentioning those sorts of players is because those are the sorts of players they're the ones that would do stuff for the team, not the glamorous signings. Like McClare was here for donkey's years, right? He towards the back end didn't really play a lot, but he was here. He did his job. He did a job for the club and was happy to train with these professionals, be professionals at all time. Came on when he was called. We don't even have the likes of, even going forward, the likes of a Sunji Park or a Park, and O'Shea. We don't even have those anymore. The culture of those sorts of players are cult players. We don't have cult players anymore. High level performances bring consistency and wins are the key. I'm not convinced with Cunha, to be honest. I prefer Mount over him. What are your thoughts? I respect the opinion. I disagree. I don't count Mason Mount in this team. I don't doubt Mason Mount has talent. I don't disagree that Mason Mount, when he comes on, looks okay. Personally, for me, I liken Mason Mount to a wasp. And what I mean by that is he buzzes around everywhere. You know, people try to bat him off. He makes a lot of noise, but I don't really see him do too much. Injury prone. There's a talent there. There is no doubt. There is no doubt that there's a talent there, but he's not playing. His minutes have been managed completely. I don't class him as I don't see him as a pivotal member in the squad. Cunha, for me, I think the fact that Cunha plays, I think Cunha is very, very good with the ball. I'm not going to disrespect the opinion. I think that's your opinion. I think Mason Mount and Cunha are night and day. You've got a player who pretty much plays most of the time. Mason Mount barely plays. So, you know, if Mason Mount played all of the time, if Mason Mount was able to play 90 minutes, most games, Mason Mount would be getting into this squad. But you can't rely on the player who barely plays. Obi, when these new players come in, should be indoctrinated into the squad. Munich from the Ashes, and they are best in place. Liverpool, I agree. I like what I'm seeing so far. I'm looking forward to seeing our team at the end of summer 2026. We are on a 5-game unbeaten run. Our fan base seems to forget we finished bottom of the table last season. Well, we didn't, because if we'd finished bottom of the table last season, mate, we would have gone down. I think we should be more positive. We've probably had the toughest fixture list. Look, I'm not... This is where I am on this fan base, right? Is that... a couple of things here, right? Is that I don't mind saying, I've said we've had a better season, right? We're not playing fantastically well, but we are better. We are better. There is no doubt that we are better this season. We haven't lost for 5 games, right? Fantastic. Number 1 tick, right? We are in and around the race for top 4, no problem. But my problem right now is this toxicity, this positivity that we're going to get top 4. We're going to win the league. I've seen some of the biggest channels talk about winning the Premier League. They did a fucking show outside of the club, standing there talking about how this club can win the Premier League this season. What a load of nonsense, right? We've won 5 games, right? We've won 3, drawn 2. That's fine. But that shows you the aspirations of this club now, right? Fergie would go on a winning streak of 5, 6, 7 games winning to win a Premier League. You know, there were blips along the way, and we wouldn't always, you know, we wouldn't have it easy, but Fergie would go, look, we need to win the 7 games, and we'd win the 7 games. The epitome of where we are now and what we think is good is we want to get to 5 wins so some guy can cut his hair. Like, that is literally all people talk about, is when are we going to get wins for this guy to cut his hair? That literally is where this club is the epitome of, whilst I agree, I am positive, right? I'm positive, but I'm also realistic. I can't sit here and go, oh, amazing, we've not lost for 5 games. Oh, the players, the fantastic players. Oh, what an amazing team this is. We've not lost for 5 games. Oh yeah, come on guys. Nah. We have we have not lost for 5 games. Fantastic. But we've also not played well for the last 3 of them. So we have to be realistic. I will, up into game week, I refuse to call out these players. I will not call out these players because we've got to support them. Like I have my feelings on these players, but I will support them as long as I can. But I will call out what I see. But if I'm being asked to celebrate a 5 unbeaten run, it shows me how low these standards have come. I demand that we win the Premier League every single season. I demand we finish first, not because I'm stupid, because those are the standards that I set. And our current standards now are let's get to 5 wins so some twat can cut his hair. I mean, it baffles me. It baffles me. Baleba was throwing his toys out the pram. Šeško is the only striker. He's the only striker and he's 22. He's never played in the Prem before. Baleba for me has had 1 good season. He is lauded as the saviour now. Look at him. Hate it when we are linked to players that have had 1 good season. I have a feeling now that Anderson knows how good he is and he won Arsenal. Liverpool? Probably not Liverpool at the moment, mate. Destroyed the biggest club in the world, 20 years of asset stripping. The club used to be the bastion of English football, and now we're the banter club. Liam, mate, as always, loving the old comments, my friend. Whether I wanted Šeško or not, or whether I think he's good or not, it's irrelevant. He's only 22, and we are failing him. We expect the 22-year-old to lead the line with no other natural striker. I agree completely. What a pro and servant Brian was. McClare was a legend. I like Cunha. He's deadly with his runs. Cunha lacked a bit out of sorts, like a gangly teenager in our last game. I just think Baleba is a fancy name. We don't want that. We want hard workers and leaders with passion, players who want to play for us and give us 10 out of 10. It just shows a lack of scouting when they buy that. So look, I refuse to support Delo and Ugarte. When I say support players, I just won't talk about them. If Onana was between the sticks against Forest, we'd have lost. Stephen Onana is worse than Tayibi. I never thought I'd say that. Man U 1, 2, 3. Would you take Rashford back? No. Rashford is not. He's not for me. His time has been and gone. I think Rashford's had his time, been and gone, and I say farewell. I say good luck on your journey. Give me the money, and I'm happy. So he's gone. He has disrespected the club, and for me, I'm it's time for him to move on. So, guys, on that note, I'm going to go an hour show. I didn't think I'd get an hour. To be honest with you, not much going on really. I may be back tonight. Look, I'm not gonna spam stuff just for clicks. If there is something to talk about tonight, I will come back on tonight. If not, I will be back tomorrow. I do have something planned. But I just need to set it up. So I will do a show. I did plan to do it today, but I haven't got time. So I'll try to set it up for tomorrow or tomorrow night, and I'll do a show. So yeah, guys, look, have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, evening. I'll try and be back tonight if there's anything to talk about. If not, then I will be back tomorrow. This is the international break. It is. And now here is JB's final thoughts. What are my final thoughts? My final thoughts are, as always, be careful of the spin. Be careful of it. We've been linked to so many players. This is the worst time. We're going to be linked to all sorts of players because the Glazers want us to be linked to these sorts of players. And ultimately, what do I think? I think if we don't get a midfielder in this window, at least a minimum of a midfielder, then I think we're going to suffer. Watching the Champions League game tonight. United first game at Old Trafford. The ladies versus PSG. I'm not going to watch that tonight. I'm not. Exactly. Where, if there's a player to be linked to, well, we're going to be linked to him, right? So look, I will keep you abreast of everything that's happening. I'll keep you informed. If there's nothing to talk about tonight, I probably won't do a show tonight. But I shall be back tomorrow at least. And so have a good rest of your afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world. I'm going to be watching my tripod. I might even go for a little bit of a run. You never know. But I did, before I go though, I did get some new shirts, by the way. I have to say, they took long enough to come, but I have to say I'm really impressed with the quality of the shirt whilst Badlands is on. Yes, exactly. And actually, right, I did actually get one of my favourite shirts as well, by the way. So I've got the black one. I actually refuse to give Glazers the money, so I've got some retro shirts in. The black one, I love that black one, so I've got that one, I've got this one, and I've got that one as well. So absolute legend. So got some more shirts, which is always good, right? So guys, I'll be back. If I'm not back tonight, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Legend of a community, legend of a chat. Can I buy that? You can buy the lightsaber, but it's not a lightsaber. It's a light. It's actually a light. It's a it's a light. You go like, yeah, it's a light. It's tell you what it's called. It's that. That's what it's called. It's a Nubia floor lamp NF01. It got sent to me for free, by the way. So I didn't actually have to pay for the light. So it came to me for free. But no, it is a really cool light. It is really cool. I'll just pretend it is. Here you go. Look, legend. So I'm glad you like my lightsaber. As she says, the force is strong with this one. It can be, mate. It can be. Guys, legends. I mean, look, guys, I say this all of the time. You guys, JB Scott. No, God. I think I'd be Scott's father. Yeah, I think it'd be that way around, wouldn't it? I think I'd be Scott's dad. Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I'm sure I do love myself a little bit of Star Wars, so that's right up my street. I should actually get some Star Wars things for up there, go proper middle-age crisis, so look, guys, legends of the chat, you guys make this channel amazing. I can only thank you. Luke Shaw, JB son. Oh, can you imagine? Luke, I am your father. Jesus Christ. Luke Shaw, Jesus. JB1 Kenobi. What can I say? I've got the beard and the white hair for it. So, yeah. Fun fact, my Disney Plus FPF is Darth Vader because I'm the father. That's very cool. Who's your favourite Star Wars character? Just before I go, because I'm going to have to go. Who's your favourite Star Wars character? I'll tell you who mine is as well. My favourite character is Jango Fett. You were supposed to be the chosen one, mate. I've never been the chosen one in my whole life. Do you think Harry Maguire is United's best centre forward you've got at the club? No. I mean, he's the best. He's the best emergency striker that you've got. You'd be a new Fortnite skin soon, JB. Can you imagine me as a Fortnite skin? I thought. Do you know what I thought that said for a second then. I thought I said fucking foreskin for a second. I was going to say, oh, thanks, OB. Jesus Christ. With his plug-in lightsaber. Look, you don't want to mess around with that, mate. Plug-in lightsaber. I'm a Temu Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's me, mate. I don't play it either, mate. Fortnite, I'm being a man of a certain age, I don't play it either. So but guys, I'm going to go. Legends of this chat, as always. I'm going to go bugger off and pick up the kids now and do some stuff. But probably not back tonight. Not much going on. But yeah, guys, legends. Thank you for supporting the channel. I'll see you very soon and see you on the next one, guys. Take care. Legends.